everyone, it's Nona from Between Two Pines. So I want to talk to you tonight about boundaries. Boundaries are so important. If you have been in any of my training classes or listened to any of my videos where I've talked about boundaries, you're going to hear me say it, and I'm going to say it again. This one is important. It is one of the most important things that you can teach your dogs. It fixes 100 million things, struggles that we have with our dogs, and it is foundational for our dogs. So, what exactly are we talking about when we talk about a boundary? Well, boundary can be anywhere where your dog can just settle in. So, bless Bo, we miss him so much, but he had chosen this right here, and it was a footstool for a boundary. We got old Dutch here, and I didn't have a bed out that night. I've been working on his raised bed, and so I just sent him over to the beanbag chair and said, Dutch, why don't you go over there? I don't know what he is looking so forlornly at. He looks so sad in this picture, but he really isn't sad. He really loves to go to boundaries. In fact, he's one of my best boundary dogs that I have. And here he is again. So this is a contraband stuffed animal that he should not have. This is Ollie, my grandson's elephant, but he had gotten that and he went and laid down on it, and that was his boundary at the moment. He's getting really good rest there. This is Kerno. Kerno is a dog that I worked with in England, and she's on a raised bed. Now, this is by far one of my favorite kinds of things to teach boundaries on because it is a really easy to recognize area for a dog to see that that's where I'm going to be on a boundary. And you can call it whatever you want. You can call it a place, a bed, a boundary, a spot, whatever you call it. But this is really nice because it's up off the ground and they can say, oh yeah, I definitely know this is where I'm going. So that would be a great boundary, especially for starting out training. Our kennels. Kennels are so important. Um, One of the most important boundaries that I have. I use these in my house all over. There's one in the living room and one in the bedroom. We have them in different places around the house, and it should be a place for your dog to go where they can be safe. Good things happen in our boundaries. Great management tools. Boundaries can sometimes be things that are really inappropriate. So Dutch chose this as a boundary. It was a cat's bed. It was way too small. And poor little old Penny, I promise you, we did not put her in this box. She chose to go there. But when there just isn't a good boundary to be found, I just had to caption that because she chose this box and it's so funny. But, this is really important, you guys. It is a place where they can go um, and be calm. And we're going to talk about all these things that it helps with. But they're really important that your dog has these places. It's a place of security. It's a place that they should love. And so when we're training these, and there is a way to train these, and I have a program about this, but when we're training this, we want them to really love where they're going. I don't know if Penny loved this box or what was going on here, but it was a really funny picture, and I just had to keep it in here. So let's talk about the top 10 reasons why you should have a boundary. So coming in at number 10. This is a real common one that I have people saying, hey, I have issues with my dog jumping up. I have people come into the house and my dog is jumping up on them. Well, what you can do is have a good boundary. If you have a good boundary with your dog, you can send them to their boundary and you can play games to teach them to go to their boundary when you have someone come over. And then you avoid this issue. So you can have them go to their boundary. Your company comes in. You're not worried, one, about your dog running out the door. Also, when they come in, your dog can be in that safe place and things can be a little more controlled about introducing the people in and having your dog appropriately approach them. And so this really can help when we're working on this issue. Not the only thing, but can really help. And what about jumping up onto countertops? And getting food. I mean, we have lost in our own household. We deal with this issue sometimes, and we have lost steaks before. We have lost hamburgers before, and just the other day I had cooked a lot of chicken for the dogs to use in training, and we lost that too. Good old Dutch. But if you have a good boundary, then this is less of an issue. And honestly, usually my dogs are on boundaries. They know that they aren't allowed past a certain point in the kitchen, and they lay on boundaries just outside that point. So I can still see them, but it really helps to not have dogs underfoot in the kitchen and like jumping up and getting things off the countertops. So having a really nice boundary. In fact, in some video, I have a video of Dutch laying on his boundary while I'm cooking spaghetti sauce. So it really is helpful for those things. Okay, let's talk about number 9. Oh, another one that I have that people come to me a lot with and say, my dog just will not stop barking. So let's look at this little dog here. This little dog is standing. I can't tell if it's on a front porch or if it's in front of a window. But this little dog is like just barking, barking, barking at everything that's going by. Okay, so how can we fix this? Well, we can fix this one way by not allowing this dog to rehearse this behavior. That's another thing I say all the time. So if we had our dog on a boundary in a different area, that would take care of that rehearsing of that behavior and kind of create a calmer home. So we can send our dog to this nice boundary in another area where they can be calm and where they're not watching the things go by. I know that while people are working on this, there's other management things like closing the curtains on the window. I've had other trainers that while they're working on it, they put a screen in front of the window, so especially at certain times of the day. But if in the afternoon with the kids walking home from school, the postman coming by, and that's a bad time, well then you have a great boundary trained, and then you send your dog to their bed, to their boundary with a nice bone, and we have some solution for that problem. So that's really great. Oh, donut number 8. So what about this picture? The puppy that tears things up. Yikes. So puppy management is really, really difficult. And one thing that I think that happens with a lot of puppies is that they have just way too much freedom. So training a boundary early and training it, that's like it's one of the first things I start to train with puppies. And I do that because we can avoid this problem right here. If you know where your puppy is, then they're not off somewhere chewing up your favorite shoes, chewing up a couch, chewing up the remote control to the TV or other things. So having them on a boundary right next to you while you drip feed them food or a bone or something is the perfect solution for that. Number 7. Number 7 is another issue that I have a lot of people contact me about because they just have issues with this coming in, and that's potty training. So it doesn't have to be just with puppies. Sometimes a lot of rescue dogs come into the homes and they haven't been potty trained either. But again, I think sometimes our new dogs in our homes have way too much freedom. And so for that reason, I have several solutions for puppies, and one is keeping them managed and corralled really well. So kennel training, training to a playpen area, keeping a long line on them, a puppy line on them, so that you're already always have them right near you, and putting them on a boundary. Gosh, how much better is it to have your new puppy be right next to you? We want them next to us. We got them so that they would be next to us. And so what do? You put your boundary right next to you and you drip feed puppy food onto the boundary so that they can be right next to you, then they're not wandering off. And then you can kind of keep tabs on, oh, it's time to take my puppy out. And you can take them out and they're not wandering around peeing and pooping all over the house. It's a big stressful thing to be happening when you just gotten your new puppy. And it's very frustrating, difficult to train puppies unless we have something in place like a boundary. All right, lucky number 6. What's coming in at number 6? Are you guys, hope you're enjoying this. But for our number 6 spot, we have biting. Ooh, another big puppy issue. And that's a big puppy mouth right there. Okay, so you're thinking probably, well, how the heck does a boundary help with biting? So, a boundary should never be punitive, so to speak, but it really is helpful when play is getting out of control, especially when you have young dogs that are in a biting stage. When play is getting out of control, a nice thing to do is to be able to say, put the brakes on and be like, okay, we're stopping this play right now. I'm not going to allow this kind of play, but let's do something else. Let me send you to your boundary. And while they're on the boundary, they can have something like a licking mat or a bone, something to occupy their mouth that they can chew on. And that's a much better choice to do than getting mad and yelling at them. Okay, we're down to the top 5 now. We're getting into our top 5. So coming in at number 5 is focus. So again, when our puppies are playing or our dogs are playing, things can get out of control. And I don't know if you've ever had this problem, but have you been like saying something to your dog like, stop that, come here, um, give me that, those things, and you think, can you even hear me? Can you even hear what I am saying to you? Well, let me tell you what, when you train a dog to a boundary, they love that boundary so much. If you've done it right, they're going to really love that boundary, and they are going to go to that boundary because they know good things are coming on that boundary, like food to the boundary, like a bone, um, like engagement with you. Just really wonderful things happen when they're on that boundary. So I want you to take a look at this dog. This is Penelope or Penny, our little Penny. And Penny is a Staffordshire Bull, and Penny just hardly can't keep still sometimes. And if you look at her tail, she is an excited dog. That tail is moving so fast that it's in a blur. But I want you to also look at the focus she has on me because I've asked her to contain her movement and put it onto a boundary. And she is anticipating what is coming next. So she is totally focused on me. And isn't that what we want? We want our dogs to be aware of us, to be close to us, to be focused on us. So she knows that that boundary means good things. So perfect example of why we want to have a really solid boundary in place. So even our crazy wild dogs are going to get on that boundary and they're going to be still. Which brings me to number 4. So again, if you have heard me talk before or done any training with me, you know about the bucket. So the bucket, if you haven't, let me do a quick synopsis. Every dog has a bucket. Everything pays into the bucket, good things and bad things. Once that bucket gets to the top and it starts to overflow, our dogs are going to choose behaviors. And if they don't know any better, they're going to choose behaviors like some of the things we've already talked about, like barking, jumping up. Some dogs wet on the floor, some dogs bite. It just depends on your dog. Well, let me tell you what a boundary can do for your bucket. It helps empty the bucket. So whenever my dog has had an exciting time, an exciting day, she's been out running, especially with Mia, one of the first things we do is we go to the kennel and we have a bone, or we just have some time for her to rest and empty her bucket. It really does work. And then she's more likely to listen, and we'll get out a little bit later and do some training, and that is a perfect bucket emptier. Okay, number 3. Having a boundary promotes calmness. So even if you got a dog to be a sports dog, to be a do certain kind of activities with you, we do want calmness usually in the home. And getting that is something that if you haven't watched it, watch a calmness video that I put out. But calmness triad is really important. So that is three things that help us build the calmness in our dogs. We're going to talk about each briefly, but calmness protocol, passive calming activities, and rest. So let's talk about calmness protocol. This is playing games that promote calmness. So settle or boundaries um, is one of those things. Playing boundary games where our dogs learn how to really love their boundary and want to stay on their boundary. Airplane game, mouse game. These are all games that you can play that help promote calmness. So if you want to, you know what? If you want to see some of these games, put something in the comments below. If I get enough comments about these games, I'll do some videos on these games. So put some comments down below and let's see if we want to play those games, okay? Passive calming activities. So this is a beautiful example. Here's Dutch. He is on a rug in front of a fireplace. This is in our old house. And nice place to be, comfortable rug, and he's got a Kong that's filled, probably with some dog food or some hamburger mints or peanut butter and kibble. Who knows what's in there? But he is loving this. This is a dog that is able to just sit down and rest. And these types of activities have been shown to promote calmness in your dog's brain. So look at how wonderful this is. I can be over there cooking in the kitchen and he can be doing that and he's perfectly happy. And the last component, the last part of the triad is rest. Rest is really important. So in puppies, they need at least 18 hours of sleep a day, of rest a day. Um, Adult dogs around 14 to 16. And then when you're talking elderly dogs, they should be back up there in the higher numbers as well. So Dutch, he doesn't have an issue about finding a place to rest. He just pulls up a pillow and lays down and he is good to rest. Really important for your dogs. Dogs who are lacking in rest are usually dogs that start getting into trouble. They have issues with reactivity. They have issues with a lot of the things we've talked about before already, the biting, the barking, the jumping up, and all of that stuff. All right, we're down to our top two. Coming in at number two. Can't you wait to see what the top two are for me? I am. I'm excited. So let me tell you. Top two. Number two, safety. All right, so this is Cadence. Um, you see her nicely laying on the really fluffy, cool rug that I had bought for her. And it's just laying out there in the living room on the floor. What else do you notice about Cadence? If you said she really is alert about something happening in that room, you would be right. So she's got her head pointed and her ears pointed and her eyes pointed to a certain direction. What she's looking at is on this day, we had a large group of people down, a family, and there were kids and adults. And if you know Cadence, you know that she is not a big fan of kids. So she will get up and bark at them. She is a border collie. She's been known to nip at heels if you're going in a direction she doesn't want you to go in. But to keep all of that from happening, I sent her to her boundary. There she is, laying away from the activity. There's no barking, there's no nipping. So the people have been kept safe and also she is being kept safe. So this next one is her on a bed in a clinic. So she's a service dog. She went with me to work, and I ran a clinic for children. And again, there was lots of kids coming through there. Not her most fun thing. A lot of activity. So we found a nice corner back by my desk where she could sit on her on her raised bed and be protected. She was protected from the kids. They could not come over and just pet her or invade her space, and that protected them as well. And so protecting our dogs is really so important. So if you are a person who is thinking, I got my dog because I would really like to go and take them out and like eat in outdoor places or go places with them, then you definitely need to teach a boundary because your dog needs to be protected. Um, we want our dogs to be friendly and socialized, but there are some situations and some dogs where that is not an okay thing, and they need to be safe. We don't want them just walking out or going and just eating things on the ground or going out into traffic. So you really need to teach a boundary, especially if those are one of the reasons why you got a dog. So teaching a boundary helps us to meet those powerful whys of why we got our dogs in the first place. And speaking of first place, we are finally to the number one reason to teach your dog a boundary. And that number one reason is relationship. So, you got a dog for a reason. And most of the time, that reason centers around having a relationship with your dog. You have expectations of what that is going to be like. If you have a dog who is peeing and pooping in your house, who barks all the time, who jumps up on people, steals food, any of those things that we have talked about, you are not going to be able to, realistically, not going to be able to probably obtain that reason why you got the dog in the first place. I mean, this is Katie and I. We have a very special bond. Um, and, you know, everybody wants that with their dog. And at the center of that is to be able to have peace and calmness in the home. And you're not going to have peace and calmness in the home if you have a dog doing all those other things that you don't want them doing. So I'm here to tell you that the solution to that is having a good boundary, having a solid boundary, a place that your dog can go on their own and they will love it enough that they will choose times to go to it themselves, but a place that you can also send them to when you need to, when you're eating at the dinner table and you don't want a dog begging for food, when you are having guests over and you don't want them jumping up on people, but also you may just want to be able to spend that time with people. And so you need a place where that you can send them and know that it's a solid place for them to stay, but that they can still be out and about and still be part of your family. Very, very important. I mean, I can't tell you guys how important a boundary is. Is it the most exciting thing to teach a dog? No. It's kind of just like one of those daily life kind of things, but it's an important part of your daily life. And I guarantee you, you will never be sad or upset if you take the time that it takes to teach a strong boundary. It really is foundational for the rest of your training work. And I really encourage you all to teach this to your dogs. Now, let me tell you, if you want more information or if you would like to know more about how to teach a boundary and those kind of things, then reach out to us. We are here at BetweenTwoPinesDogTraining.com, here on Facebook as well, YouTube. Just reach out to us and we'd be happy to talk to you more about this and other training. Until then, keep playing.